Rick Evans.
Madam Deputy Speaker, thanks, hope, change. 3 words it's lovely to use in this debate that are positive. And I'd like to put on record the thanks for last week, for all the scientists, researchers, staff, communications guys, the government, for getting it right and getting a vaccine out there. Because that really is the game changer and the hope that we have been looking for. Of course, it's been said many times in this House already, there's going to be a slow and steady rollout, and things are not over yet. Not for this month, not for next month, or the months coming. But there is light at the end of the tunnel, and there is that opportunity to get things back to normal and start to see the change that we want. So I welcome the news of the vaccine and more in the pipeline, because this is what everyone has been hoping for. And I welcome too the fact that the Health Secretary and indeed the ministers listened carefully when Leicestershire MPs said that we'd like to be decoupled from Leicester, not in some form of COVID NIMBYism, but simply of the fact that we've had lived experience through the entire summer of what our people do, how they react, and what goes on. And I hope Leicester get as much support as they possibly can to fight the vaccine, to bring the numbers, fight the virus even, to bring the numbers down and make a difference. But that in line, if we're being led by the evidence, then I'd like to see a push for a borough-based model too, based on the lived experience that we had in Hinckley and Bosworth. Because like the member for Redcar rightly pointed out, if your constituents are following the rules, making the difference, and the evidence is changing, then so should the tier system. That's all they ask, to be given the power to do that. And when the data comes through, I hope that will be the case. Now, moving on, a lot has changed through the pandemic. We talk about lockdowns now at the moment, and if we think back to what happened in March, the lockdowns we've had and the tiering system is completely different. The government has rightly changed and focused its emphasis. It focused on the NHS, making sure it was not overwhelmed, and more importantly, we were able to continue non-COVID procedures, investigations and treatments. The government's then focused on education, getting kids back to school so they don't fall behind, and in turn letting people be able to get to work, which was the third focus, opening non-essential retail and businesses. And the next level, leisure activities, the gym, welfare, getting out to see people, looking after yourself mentally and physically, have all been put in as priorities. These are all levers that you can pull. But alas, that means socialising and hospitality come last. Now, given there is light at the end of the tunnel, change can happen. And I'd like to see support for the sectors, for hospitality, for pubs and restaurants in the short term to help them get through, but also not forgetting the other industries that are going to take the longest to come out of this. Events, conferences, wedding industry, and of course the travel. Now, the government is making strides at every point it can and using task force to do so, and I welcome that. This is good news to help these industries on. But now we can see where we're looking to go in April, May and June. There's a potential to lay out a plan, be it a draft, just to say to these businesses, this is what you can start to work for. Because as someone who got married last year, trying to plan a wedding in a few weeks is not something my wife would want to do. And I think one thing that struck me when I was driving around from Newport Verdon to Hinckley is how much life is starting to return to normal. And that must be so hard if you're a pub owner, a restaurant owner, seeing people going out about their normal day-to-day working lives, and yet you can't make that change. And I think we should keep that in our minds going forward to try and balance protecting the NHS and protecting livelihoods. But as it comes to Christmas, and this is likely to be the last chance, I hope, to speak on this side of the House before we get to the new year, it makes you focus your mind on that new year and the hope that's coming. Because while I urge for policy change, some things do need to stay the same. Caring for each other at Christmas it's going to be particularly difficult for those who are choosing to isolate. Lonely people. So pick up the phone, get on that Zoom call, get on that Teams call and speak to your neighbour, your friend and your family. And of course, the last piece of government advice that should never be lost and should stay the same until we've all had the vaccine: hands, face, space, get a test.